Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am joined again with Dee Ludlow, the cryptocurrency man, everything to do with the new world of currency. Dee, welcome back and thanks for joining me on my channel.
It's a pleasure, mate. Thanks for inviting me back.
Awesome, pleasure's all mine. So Dee, today's conversation, we're going to keep it on the crypto. There are a lot of questions we were talking off camera that I've been asked myself. We're going to bring up today. We've put out a few posts to see what people are interested in, but also there are some interesting topics within the cryptocurrency world. One that I actually read today, it only sort of sprung upon me that that WhatsApp is going to be allowing crypto payments, which is obviously a very big movement and one I suppose we all need to take notice of because it's a serious movement. You know, it's kind of, I suppose, there's a lot of wake up calls now where those who are possibly doubting cryptocurrency are now going, well, if they're getting involved, they're getting involved. You know, there's got to be legs to it, surely. So just on that, because that was news to me today, for anyone watching, some of the big movements that are happening, what does that actually mean?
So when it comes to these social platforms, quite recently, well, I say recently, over the last 2-3 months, a young lad called Jack Mallers, he's seriously wealthy from just holding Bitcoin and being crypto himself, but he created a software called Strike, and he's the one that sort of rolled Strike out in El Salvador, and also he's the one who partnered with Twitter. So now you can send remittances through Twitter. Transactions are free, and what they do is, let's say, using America, I was in the UK and I wanted to send you £100. What they do is they use Bitcoin as the underlying software, so the lightning layer. So I would send you £100, it would convert to Bitcoin to send it instantly, and then it would arrive on your end is the conversion into US dollars. So what he did was basically overnight made Twitter into sort of a better version of Western Union and MoneyGram, but the difference is it's free. So all these people that, let's say, from the Philippines and you go and work in the States, sending money back now, you don't have to pay these ridiculous Western Union and MoneyGram fees, which, there's so many intermediaries along the way. It's so excessive. So he basically said then, look, if all social media platforms don't use this, they're crazy, because now what they do is the user base of, say, Facebook, WhatsApp, WhatsApp, same. Can you imagine now creating something that everyone has to use your token to transact on it? You basically run the monopoly and you have your own basically economy within itself. And when you think about the amount of users on which Facebook have across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, you basically got your like a world in itself in one place. So it ties in with this sort of metaverse now sort of thing that they're doing as well. So yeah, I think that it doesn't surprise me because I've seen what Jack's done with Twitter, but yeah, I think that they're all going to do it personally.
So they're all going to adopt it basically. Well, on that then, I mean, with all these new platforms adopting it, there's been a lot of new coins, a lot of like new altcoins and stuff like that. It's always changing. So I suppose one of the questions, this will tie into a question that has been asked a lot. It was put on a poll that we done, is what coins are still current to buy and what coins are to look out for? Because obviously we know the big guys, the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, the Cardano, stuff like that. But there are a lot of up and coming coins. How do you sort of fight against the not getting caught up in too many and spreading, because what I want to address here is, I know people have asked me, I want to invest in this, I want to invest in that, but their funds aren't limitless. So where do they kind of focus, perhaps going into the new year? What is of interest?
So I think first and foremost, people need to really understand their risk appetite before they invest in any asset. Crypto more so because of the volatility involved, the amount of leverage that's used in crypto. But look, there's so many different sort of projects that I look at that I feel have huge upside because of the emergence of blockchain overall. But if I was to pick just a few, I would say, firstly, I would say VeChain. So it's been a favorite of mine for a very long time. I've been holding it for well over a year now. And VET, which is the ticker symbol for their main token, it basically focuses on business applications, mainly in the sort of logistics field and supply chain management. So what it does is it can provide transparent tracking, quality control, inventory management, and loads of other things that's linked towards the supply chain world. And one of the sort of things I say is, if people have watched Seaspiracy on Netflix and see how sort of corrupt the supply chain world is, all global supply chains is just a shambles, right? These is trying to solve all of that corruption that's going on. They're already working with BMW, Renault, PwC. They're trying to really bring the sort of transparency to supply chains. But the VeChain as a company, they have two tokens. So they have one, which is in the Crypto 20 inside the mastermind, which is VET, the one I just mentioned. And they have another one that's VETHO, so it's like a dual token platform. But the VETHO tokens are used to pay for network transactions. But what's good about this is because they want to make it scalable and they want to make it also transparent, then what they try to do is they've generated the VETHO is what generates the transaction. So that's what's used to pay for the network transactions. But by holding VET in the VeChain Thor wallet, you generate VETHO for free anyway. So you literally get VETHO for free. So ideally your transactions become free. Or if you gain a certain amount of VETHO, if you just want to sell it back into USDT or whatever, or into Bitcoin or whatever it is you want, it's technically free money. So it's like unofficial staking really. Next, I'll probably say, well, my favorite, I feel, is probably Avalanche. So back in May on the pullback, one of the, was a few tokens that we was really focused on, but one was Solana. And, because of this, what it is, the scalability involved, and it went and did like 1,200% in 6 weeks. I feel like Avalanche is where Solana was. Now, I do feel we're going to probably have some sideways movement in crypto. It could last longer than we imagine at the moment because of where it is. But Avalanche, for me, which their ticker symbol's AVAX, is just a DeFi platform that people call the Internet of Finance, and this is based solely on scalability. So it's already known as one of the most scalable blockchains. So when you make a transaction on AVAX, which makes it slightly different to others, the amount you transact gets burned. So it becomes a deflationary asset. So the supply is going to consistently shrink over time. And if you look at what some of the bigger institutions and bigger, players in the game are saying, they're all super bullish on AVAX too. So for me, 2022, I would say AVAX is one of my favorites. There's lows, but another one that I do like is, which you may relate to this, because I know you enjoy gold, right? So what I like about this one is, I would say RSR, right? So reserve rights token. The reason why I like this one, I've held this one for quite a while as well, is because they're looking to build a long-term stable coin. So they've looked at loads of different ways to do it, but they've looked at like an asset peg tied to fiat currency for like a short-term period, but then tied to a basket of assets for the long term. But what they try to do is save people within economies that are going through hyperinflation. So, and with the current state of the global economy, obviously it makes sense at the moment, and they're already helping people and affecting people in Venezuela. They're looking at other South American countries, or really anyone that's sort of suffering an economic downturn. If you look at some of these economies now, like Argentina, $1 is going to get you more than probably 200 pesos now. And that's up from about 20 pesos within the last couple of years, plus the inflation rate's about 50%. So, they're trying to stabilize their currency anyway, but it just doesn't seem really to be happening. You look around the world, Turkish lira, they're the countries that kind of need help. And that's what a sort of reserve rights are trying to do. But also, which I feel is like a bit of a hidden gem, is because Peter Thiel and Jack Selby from PayPal are heavily invested in RSR. So when you look at RSR and then the payment gateway what PayPal already have, if they implement RSR into their payment gateway as a solid stable coin, then instead of using USDT or a central bank digital currency, like Facebook are doing with DM, like you just see WhatsApp with payment system, like Amazon's going to create their own token. If you can bring the monopoly in-house, then which PayPal can comfortably do with RSR, then what happens to RSR? So yes, the RSV token will become the stable currency within RSR, but then the utility token, RSR of reserve rights, that then what has happened to that? That's just going to become more valuable. So RSR is another one that I like. But look, all three of those are like sort of out of the Crypto 20 that I focus on. But it's hard to narrow them all down. But yeah, there's so much opportunity. But like you said, I do feel that people do need to focus on a few, because you can get lost in the Wild West. You're like, everything looks like is good. Everything looks like is going to solve some sort of issue, but you need to deep dive into the real like tokenomics of it all. Look at everything before you start getting heavily invested in some of these sort of ones that could do well, rather than when you look at your Bitcoin and Ether, like you said, they're already being adopted by institutions. So yeah, that's probably what I'd say.
That was awesome. And I suppose really what you're saying there is and I totally agree with that, is don't piggyback off other people. I think, I think that's what happens a lot is, like people will sort of be like, oh, what are you investing in? What are you buying? And then they kind of, without doing any due diligence, they subconsciously kind of go with that coin because they've heard their friends. But so anyone watching, like Dee's just said, conduct your own due diligence and suppose you need to know the ins and outs of that new coin. Another question, I suppose, really, just as an overview, is how crypto will actually work, or how it works right now, and how will it work in the future? Like, just as an overview, kind of to anyone watching, what is it? I suppose that's a little bit of a beginner's question, but it was one that came up quite a lot. What is crypto and how will it work?
If we look at the underlying technology behind crypto, which is blockchain, what it is at the moment, if you look at our current system and the way we work, it is a monopoly. Everything's a monopoly. You've got bankers pretty much dictate what happens and when it happens. Whereas blockchains, a peer-to-peer, decentralized, distributed ledger that makes the records transparent on the blockchain. So we don't need a third party anymore. We don't need these intermediaries that are continuously taking a slice of the pie. So if you send money to somebody and the amount of people involved in that transaction, plus, people say that Bitcoin's slow and it takes long. If I pay on my credit card today, it takes like 3 or 4 days to finalize the transaction officially. And then it gets held and someone takes on the risk in between. Where it's blockchain, you don't need that person in the middle. When it gets sent, it's transparent. We can go on blockchain.com now and see the last however many transactions you want to see on the blockchain and how much it was from what address to which address. Everything becomes so much more transparent. So that's kind of what you look at cryptocurrency as. But another thing what I'd like to say on cryptocurrency is the blockchain, the tech behind it is really what people should be focusing on as far as, where the opportunity lies. But people look at cryptocurrencies like that, the few I just mentioned then, VeChain, Avalanche, and RSR. A lot of people will look at them and be like, why do we need all those currencies? This isn't just, they're not all being used. Yes, they're currencies. Yes, you can use them to transact, but these are companies. It's like investing in Apple, Amazon, General Motors. It's like you're looking at something and, like, for instance, Tesla. If you looked at Tesla, obviously it's gone crazy over the past year or so, but before the confidence in Tesla really come about within, from everybody, before that, it was sort of like, do I feel that EV is going to go where I think it's going to go? And if it does, do I think this company and this person, Elon Musk, is going to be the driving force of EV? And if you thought that, then you're going to be like, well, look, I like what they're doing. I like the amount of investment going involved. I like the innovation. I'm going to buy some Tesla stock. Same as Amazon. If you looked at Amazon like 15 years ago or less, oh, do you want to go and invest in this little online bookstore? Most people would be like, no. Online bookstore? No, I'm good. But now Amazon is everything. So what you're doing here is you're looking at companies. These are companies that all have their own sort of methods and they're all trying to solve different problems. And I think what they're doing is highlighting what our current system looks like. So it does need to be more transparent regardless, right? A lot of the stuff that, you've got a small group of people that are running that monopoly there. And then this gives it back to us. So now we can be our own bank. So, I don't want to go too deep into the banking system, but 2014, they said that they can now put capital controls in they can use it as a tool whenever they want. And if anybody doesn't know what capital controls are, go and Google what happened back in Greece, right? They can basically take your money whenever they want and replace it with bank shares, from a bank that potentially could be failing. So you've got the amount of things that they can do. They can just make money whenever they want, without going too deep down the rabbit hole. At the moment, we've got so many flaws in our system, and this gives it back. So this allows you to become your own bank. You can store and actually hold custody of your money officially. People think their money in their bank safe, but they technically don't own it. The law is that as soon as you deposit your money in the bank becomes the legal owner. That's why they can do whatever they want with it. This allows us, just like if you own gold, you become the legal owner and legal custodian of your own money. So this is what blockchain and cryptocurrency is doing, is making things more transparent, but also solving and scaling a lot of problems in the world. Just look at smart contracts, right? You literally, the amount of people involved in a smart contract, you're in property, I'm in property. Look at the hassle that we go through on a property transaction. All the different people involved, all the different bits of paper you have to sign off. A smart contract solves all of this. It makes people redundant. And that's where I think what COVID has done overall is fast forwarded the inevitable, because now it's taken people to a space where technology's had no choice. You've had no choice but to let technology just do what it's doing, where I feel like they try to suppress it to a certain level so they maintain control. And look, Elon himself says AI should be regulated because it's dangerous. And when you look at what's happening with machine learning, blockchain, all the different technology that's happening right now, it's quite scary, but it's also exciting times as well.
It is, and it's funny as well because it has sped up technology, which then we won't go down that rabbit hole, but then it opens up the conspiracy of maybe was it forced to hurry up? Like, have things been suppressed, like you say, for so long that actually something needed to happen to go, right, we're ready to move forward. Things do need to advance. It's not going quick enough. I don't know. There's a question to answer another time, but that was a brilliant answer on. So for anyone watching, how crypto works, that was a fantastic answer. One of the other questions that came up was, can you make ROIs from crypto? So, if someone's obviously there's a difference between trading and investing. For anyone that doesn't know, trading is very much the short term, that take that profit from the middle of the buying and the selling process. Investing's that long term. But within the crypto, is there that return on investment that you can sort of take a profit and you could do that regularly, and or is that just you just have to be a trader? Is there possibilities for that?
Yeah. So yes, you can trade. And like I talked about leverage, the reason why the market is so volatile and you have these real big spikes down and spikes up is because, especially in Asia, they're trading like 100, 140x leverage. That's normal, right? So, when people get liquidated, it's catastrophic. But yeah, you can. So if you want to just buy it spot and hold, so you buy it and you hold it. Like for me, I'm big into look at where your exit is. What would you be happy with? Because if you invest in stocks, property, gold, whatever it is, right? I suppose not gold, because gold's more like a long-term hedge, but like stocks and property, maybe property is long-term too, but you must have a situation where you would be happy. So stocks, for instance, if you see, would you be happy with a 20% ROI in a year, right? If you would you take some money off the table? If you need it, you would. If you don't need it, you can let it run. But with crypto, because it moves so quickly and it is so volatile, and whether we maintain the 4-year cycle, is debatable. I'm unsure whether that's going to happen this time around. I do feel institutions have played a big part in changing and extending cycles and potentially looking at these sort of diminishing returns. But with ROI, if I buy a token and I will look at it, I'll be like, where do I think this is going to go? And I'll have a take my money off the table price, a take profit 1, take profit 2, and then my take profit 3 is sort of, I'm going to let it run and just see where it goes. But as soon as you can take your money off the table, because it's so volatile and you want to be able to sleep at night as an investor, if you're not going to go down like this space moves so quickly on a week-to-week basis. If you're not actively looking at it, you won't know what's going on because it moves so quick. So if you can get your money off the table as quick as possible, then you're playing with the house's money. So in my opinion, for you to get the ROI, you do need to have an actual strategy in place. Buy it, put sell orders in at certain levels. So whether you're going to work, going down the barber shop, wherever you're going in the day, shopping, like if that sell order triggers, your money's off the table. You take profits off the table. You don't have to wait. And we did this. So inside the mastermind, there's one called Algo. And literally in one day, we had a spike and it basically took out, take money off the table, take profit 1 and take profit 2 in the same day, and then come right back down under where you should take your money off the table. And the people that didn't have their sell orders in, I'm like, look, if you had your sell orders in, you could have benefited from take profit 1 and 2 and now gone again. And so it's so important to do it. Yes, people like to buy and hold, try and time the top, try and time the bottom. But that's, in my opinion, that's I don't really want to, say, but it's a stupid strategy. You're not going to time the top. Nobody knows. Like if someone says to me, where's Bitcoin going to be by the end of the year? No one knows. You can only work off probability. These people who say this and this, it's like, come on, you can monitor it, work off probability, and that's it. No one's an expert to the point where they know where the price is going to be on every given week. It just is what it is.
It's such a good point. And for anyone watching, if you heard of what cost averaging is, you drip feed into investing, and there's actually, I don't know, I'm going to call it cost averaging out, because like what you've just said is that take profit 1, take profit 2, because like you say, when you're looking for that high, it's almost borderline gambling and speculating. And like you said, is that no one can guarantee that high. And I think too many people hope for that high in order to turn themselves into that overnight millionaire. Whereas if you cost average out as well as you do in the market, then at least you're going to be conservative. You're going to take some profit. It's calculated risks. That's a brilliant point. So honestly, anyone listening to that, note that down. The other question that get asked quite a lot, I'm always having this discussion, I'm sure you are as well, is, what platform do I use? I'm just about to start buying. What platform should I use? There's a lot of platforms. I use Coinbase. What would you say for anyone starting, or are there any bonuses to certain platforms to perhaps why they should lean on that one?
It's personal preference, really. Coinbase is the go-to because it's pretty much one of the most well-known. Plus, you can use Coinbase Pro if you want, which a lot of institutions use. My ones that I prefer I like Kraken. I think it's very secure. I know somebody that worked on this sort of cloud technology and security as well. And plus it's an official US crypto bank. So for me, I feel a little bit more safer on Kraken because a lot of hacking does go on. Coinbase is safe too. I know a lot of people go to Binance because of the selection of different tokens you can have access to. I know Binance has had quite a lot of regulation issues. So you go on board certain ways and take money out certain ways. But another one that's going to be massive going forward, which the amount of investment that's gone into it, is crypto.com. For one, they got the best domain name you could possibly have. And two, they just invested $700 million into Staples Center. They sponsor the Formula One, UFC. The amount of money that they're putting into, brand equity is incredible. So going forward, crypto.com, I think as well, the money they're putting into it is probably going to take a lot of market share off all the others as well.
Well, I mean, I would also agree. It's like personal preference, isn't it? Yeah. I also know that Binance, I think, they offer a few more options. I don't know if you know, but obviously Coinbase has had this. I haven't downloaded it. So if you do know anything on this, is the additional wallet that it offers you to open up. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I personally don't use Coinbase, but yeah, I did see that they also tried to offer some sort of yield on, and they got the SEC jumped all over it. It's a little frustrating because they sort of took the leap and went public, and then the SEC has just been on their back ever since.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who is on Coinbase, I saw it. I haven't downloaded this extra. This is mainly just for people who have got Coinbases. I was just a little bit skeptical about. I was looking at, I think it was a couple of coins that weren't on Coinbase. Then it gives you the option to download, like a free download of an additional wallet. And it was only because it didn't have too many users and too many reviews that I just left it alone. But yeah, personal preference, basically. Some other questions that have come up is books to recommend, because I think it's a good question, because obviously I've read the Bitcoin Standard. Now, I don't know what your reviews are, but I've spoken to a few people about Bitcoin Standard. It rarely talks about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It talks everything other than Bitcoin, apart from a small part at the end. I get the concept of it, but have you got any really good book recommendations on Audible or hardback?
Personally, on books, no. The only one I would have said would be Bitcoin Standard, and like you said, that it talks more about why rather than what it is. But there's no sort of books off the top of my head because of what it is, and I think that there will be some, but I sort of got a lot of my information off just sort of researching different people. I think that Real Vision is a great platform for people to start. Real Vision Crypto, Raoul Pal, a big macro guy, been working with institutions forever, gone through a lot of banking crisis, very knowledgeable guy, and he sort of breaks it down and talks about how this is happening. So I think as far as a go-to place, he's very good. Simon Dixon's also very good. He actually does have a book called Bank to the Future. Another big ex-hedge fund guy, complete Bitcoin convert now. But yeah, he's very good. Simon will sit there and talk for 2 hours about Bitcoin. And, it can be quite tedious, but it's it's good content. So if you're willing to sit there and listen or put it on your phone, I would say Simon and Raoul Pal are probably the two best out there to really learn off.
And for the grassroots of someone looking to get into crypto and perhaps learn more the trading side, where would you kind of direct them? So if someone's starting to dip their toe into crypto, but perhaps they want to make it more involved, sort of really sort of take it to the next level, what would your sort of top tips be for someone getting into crypto from the off?
I would definitely allocate a lot of time to start with to understand how the market moves, look at historical data on previous cycles and understand all of that first if you want to really deep dive into it. And regardless of where you look, you will go down a rabbit hole. But one thing I will say, you have to challenge your opinion at all times. Like crypto, it's quite easy to look for confirmation bias in crypto because people will bet their house on Bitcoin going to 100K by the end of this year. And then what happens is, rather than look for why it potentially won't, they'll look for all the reasons for why it will, follow and watch all the people to tell you it will, and then you'll become disappointed if it doesn't happen. So always look at the opposite person. Like the other day, there's one guy called Blockchain Backer, right? I think his content's incredible. He posted a video up saying Bitcoin's now in a bear market. Now, I know a lot of people would look at that video and be like, I'm not even watching that because I don't want to hear it. For me, I'm like, I need to know why this guy thinks that's happening. You know, I want to know. Like, don't be scared to be told the thing you don't want to hear because it's for your own benefit. So I would definitely always challenge your opinion.
So yeah, just being open-minded.
Yeah.
That is so true. I mean, I'm not going to linger on it, but I know, I mean, previously, we know there's been rooms where, you know, and that I actually think, I just want to touch on this as well, because I think it's important, is that if you become too bullish on something, you become very blinded to actually problems that might be ahead because you don't see them, because you've convinced yourself. I said this earlier on a call that was on, is that if you're in a room full of 10, 20, 30 people and everyone is saying the same thing, even if you went in open-minded, you will come out believing what that room says, rather than having a mixed bag of opinions, views, where you can come away and actually go, okay, I agree with that, I disagree with that, but my opinion is in the middle. So it's a really important point, is like you just said, Dee, is look at the positive and then look at the negative and then make your own decision.
Yeah.
So important, because this, especially with meme stocks and crypto, yeah, you can become so bullish and become very, very tunnel vision. So awesome point. A couple of other questions actually just to finish on there really is for you personally, Dee, especially being in the world of crypto, like what's been your biggest kind of inspiration to take on crypto as a big part of your investment portfolio, and why you really strongly believe that you need to be involved in this for the future?
I love technology. I love to see the emergence of tech. So I've been looking at a lot of things for many years, and I feel that if you can have a piece of the future, you're not going to do too bad from an ROI point of view if you do have a piece of the future. So like robotics, 3D printing, all those sort of technologies is something that, like DNA sequencing, all the biotech stuff, really. If you can see what that's being used for and where it's going, and you can have a little piece of the stocks or whatever it is that's available to you to invest in those, then you know, I think that there's some huge opportunities there. So when the emergence of blockchain then, and I thought, you know, 2017, you know, I think I was probably the same as everybody else, bought Bitcoin and XRP, didn't sell anything, didn't really understand anything, which forced me to understand it. Because I'm like, where did I go wrong? You know, I'm quite, I do like to do heavy research on something if I'm going to do it. And I didn't back then. So I was like, where did I go wrong? So I was reading about it and I thought, yeah, I understand what people are saying about digital gold and all this stuff, but it didn't really align with me at the time of where we were in the world. And then as time went on, I kept reading about it. I liked it. I like what a lot of projects are doing, but I'm like, when are they going to be able to merge this with the real world? And then I feel January last year, we started to see a lot of stuff develop anyway. And then it was like, as soon as lockdown happened with COVID and everything just went crazy, I was like, now I actually see this could literally be implemented right now. Because if you shut the world down, shut supply chains down, shut everything down, people will find an alternative for something, right? So all of a sudden, crypto was like full focus on crypto. But when we started having them heavy wicks down, where I was already dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, ETH, and a few of the others back then anyway. But when we had them huge wicks down to like $3,800 of Bitcoin, like it was 100 quid of ETH March last year, I was like, do I keep pumping all this money into property? I'm an investor. I need to, where am I going to put my money and get the most return for it? I don't want to be biased towards one thing because I just like it. I need to put my money where it's going to make me the most money. So I was like, put a hold on property. I did buy something in April, the month after, but it was because I was already had my eyes on it. It was an auction, online auction. I thought that was weird. But yeah, literally I was like, I'm going to allocate everything to crypto. I'm like, so I started off mainly Bitcoin and ETH, and I did have bits of other things. And I thought, I'm just going to focus completely on this because this is where I'm going to get the best ROI. So I focused on it, and you start learning more about the individual projects because you're looking for it. And then when I started to like really understand what they was all doing and how it would fit into what we do day to day, I was like, there's nothing out there right now that's going to get you this ROI. All you need to know is how to navigate your way through it. That's the most important. Is if I just told you about VeChain, RSR, and Avalanche, and they all probably sound pretty good from what I said, because they are trying to do something, which is good, but it's how you navigate through the market by holding them and when to get rid of them as well. So like you said, cost average in, cost average out. It wins every single time. I don't care what anyone else says. That wins every single time in every asset, right? But yeah, for me, understand how to navigate your way through the market. That's probably the best thing I could say.
Well, it's a brilliant answer, mate. Very detailed, and I'm hoping that those questions were asked by other people that I know that will watch this. So hopefully for those that do watch it, that's answered it. Covered off some really brilliant topics there. I think that was a really nice breakdown overall. So I really appreciate that. We are going to now wrap up the video. So for anyone that did watch this far, really appreciate it. Dee, did you want to give a bit of a shout out to your socials for anyone to sort of connect and follow with you?
Yeah, so if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's DEE_Ludlow, LUDLOW, or if you want to go find some more information out about where we talk about this, go to jointhefivamclub.co.uk, and there's some information on there as well.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Dee, for a second time. I think hopefully if we can meet up for a third time, it will be in London finally. Yeah. We'll put something together. So again, awesome. Thanks so much for joining, and for everyone watching, I'll see you all very soon.
Thank you.